Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, I'm very excited to let everybody be part of our video entrepreneur series. In the past, we've done one-on-ones, but today I'm very excited to let you guys know we have a video panel today, a large panel and a very famous panel here in the Woodlands. Very excited. Jose Palafox of Starfox Financial Services. I want to introduce you to our panel so we can get started with some great questions. The idea of today is if you're a business owner out there, you're constantly out there asking questions about what to do, who should be helping you. This is what the whole panel is about. We want to answer some questions and get you started in the right direction, creating your own team. This morning we have with us Brett Strong, founder of Strong Firm Attorney, correct? We have Lynn Abercrombie for CPA and partner at Abercrombie and Associates. We have Mr. Bob Milner, famous Bob Milner. Everybody knows Bob. He's founder of Turbo Performance, correct? And then, of course, Judy Olson, good friend, wonderful Rotarian, president of Spirit Texas Bank. To get started, I'm going to hand the mic over to Brett here. He could tell us a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Jose, and glad to be here. My name is Brett Strong. I'm the manager and founding shareholder of the Strong Firm PC. We're attorneys here in the Woodlands. Been in the Woodlands for 30 years this year, actually my 30th year in the Woodlands, and been practicing law here since 1996. Our firm is basically a business boutique law firm. We represent businesses large and small, from the largest business in the world just down the street to your local mom and pop shop that need legal help on all business fronts. And we love being a part of the Woodlands, a big part of the community. We consider ourselves to be very, very deep in this community from the standpoint of support, not only on a legal front, but socially and involved in lots of charity groups and sponsorships, and really consider it an honor to be a part of the Woodlands.
Thank you for inviting me here today. My name is Lynn Abercrombie. I am the audit partner with Abercrombie and Associates. My husband, Bernard, is the tax partner and managing member of the firm. We've been doing this since 1982. For over 35 years, we've been representing many businesses and the individuals that own those businesses. So they're all privately held companies. We are fortunate to have a lot of international clients that are here domestically, and also domestic clients that are investing in other states as well as other countries. We represent a variety of industries, manufacturing, distributors, wholesalers, construction contractors, real estate developers, and many service industries such as healthcare, attorneys, architects, engineers, and trade services. I'm glad to be part of this panel, and thank you.
Thank you, Jose. I'm happy to be here today. I started a company back in January called Turbo Performance. It's based on working with small businesses, helping them to improve their efficiencies, helping them make it more effective, and even working with some private business owners on helping them find ways to make their personal side of their business more effective for them and make better use of their time. You probably know that I retired from Mercedes-Benz of the Woodlands in January, was a founding co-partner of that. And we really enjoy living here. My wife and I, we have 5 rescue dogs. That's our little girls. And we're involved in the community a lot too. It's what this community is really about, is service. And that's one of the reasons why my wife and I, Teresa, really feel like we have deep plants and deep roots in this community. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to be here today. I'm Judy Olson. I'm the market president for Spirit of Texas Bank. I'm currently the Rotary president for the Rotary Club of the Woodlands and the CASA chair. I have been doing. I've been a banker in this community for 25 years. The way that I like to work is I like to meet with my clients and ask them a lot of questions and find out what their goals are and what they're trying to do. And then we can explore risks and rewards and see what's best for them. And sometimes that means that they need an SBA loan. Sometimes that means that they need to borrow against the equity in their house, or maybe if they're a law firm, they need a line of credit to smooth out their cash flow. Sometimes it means that they don't borrow money at all, and maybe that's the best answer. But I like to find out what's best for my clients and move in that direction.
Perfect. My name is Bill Friebel. I'm a partner and co-owner with Starfox Financial Services, and I'll be helping on this panel today with my partner, Jose. So I want to thank all of our distinguished panel for being here today.
Well, hello, everyone. We're here with Andy, co-founder for the Glade Cultural Center. Andy, thank you for letting us use your facilities today.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you. We're going to be doing a interview panel today, and Andy and Dragos have been kind enough to let us use their facility. And the one thing I wanted to say was not only just thank you, but if you haven't been to the Glade Cultural Center facility, you need to come. I can't even explain to you how beautiful this location is, how wonderful it is, and how much the Woodlands needed it as part of our cultural growth in the area. So please take the time, come out and see Andy, come out and see Dragos, come out and see the beautiful artwork that's out here, and hopefully you'll enjoy the interview panel that we have coming up. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
So for our first question today to our panel, I am going to ask each of you to kind of talk about one of the things that we do for our clients. Now, we have a lot of business clients, and many times they come in, they have a question or a problem. And one of the things we preach is we try to be the quarterback for them, but we know that without all the other professions that are out there, it's really difficult for them to reach their goals. They need a good attorney. They need a good CPA. They need a good consultant. They need a good banker. One of the things that about banking, a lot of people don't understand is sometimes you need that loan so you can grow, right? So that's a very, very important. You need a good tax person to tell you, hey, this is the way I can save a little bit on that growth, right? One of the things I didn't mention earlier, but your chair at the CASA, my wife graduates next week as a CASA advocate, so I'm pretty excited about that. So my first question to you all is very much along those lines. How do you talk to your clients about the fact that you might be an attorney or you might be a CPA or consultant or a banker, but that they need the other people out there, other professions? You know, if they come to you as a CPA, they need an attorney so they can do part of it. How do you guys address that in your respective businesses and professions?
Thank you. It's a very good question. And what I always tell the attorneys at our firm and our philosophy is that we're solving problems. And I think that everybody here, that's what we're really all about when you're a service provider, is solving problems. And you can't solve problems without a good team. And that's an internal team as well as an external team. And we work very closely. I've worked very closely, I think, with everybody on this panel on various issues associated with finding money, growing your business, solving problems sometimes that are difficult, associated with having been sued or having to sue somebody, having a conflict in your life, whether it be business or personal. Even personal conflicts in your life can cause you to need to seek professional help with all the sorts of people we have here on the panel. So I try to look at whatever problem they're trying to solve and really look to see what type of individual is going to match best with that particular problem and that particular client. And it's not always Abercrombie that's the right answer. It may be someone else, or Spirit of Texas Bank, or if they're back when Bob was at Mercedes, it might be a BMW. It might not be a Mercedes. But no, not really. But really, that's what we try to do. And what I always tell our attorneys is that when that person comes in the room, their problem is the biggest problem in the world right there to them. And you need to help them solve that problem in any way you can and get a team together, both internally and with external experts to get them to where they need to be.
To build upon that a little bit, I deal with, for the last 35 years, I've been dealing with business clients. And oftentimes what I find is that they've done planning with the business, they've done planning individually, but oftentimes that is not integrated effectively. So when I sit down with them, I usually start with the business first. I find that's where the least amount of planning's been done and the most significant amount of savings that can be had. So being a financial person, an auditor, I also have a tax background. Readily, I sit with the owner and try to do some risk assessments and find out from them How are they, and where did they go, and where do they need to get to, and what goals do they have? So from that discussion, I then try to offer a team if they don't already have one. And so your whole goal is really trying to fulfill what they came to you for. There's usually it's a transition from another CPA firm. Why were those needs not met? And through the years, I've had to build many different relationships with financial planners, with attorneys, with consultants. Bob happens to be working with us right now, with bankers. And every single outfit, we have many progressive, we have many great people here, advisors here, but they all bring something different to the table. And it's my job to find out who is the best advisor for that company, for that person that's sitting in front of me. So that's my answer.
So to build on that just a little further, my primary focus is I work with nonprofits on strategic planning, spend a lot of time helping them develop a good, strong strategic planning, and then an implementation plan for the strategic plan. And then for my clients and customers that are for-profit businesses, I primarily focus on things like culture and leadership, feedback, accountability. And then recently I've taken on a couple of clients that are small businesses and their businesses are scaling. So to go back to what both Lynn and Brett talked about, it really takes a team. You know, when a business begins to grow and then they begin to scale, it takes a team to help get them there. And what I try to help them focus on is some clarity and focus on their significance within that process and identifying the things that are strengths that they need to bring in to help them with that scaling of their business. And, you know, again, this community has so many great resources, from banking to people like Abercrombie and Associates and to people like Brett and law firms. So there's lots of capability to build a strong team for people here. And I think that's one of the great things about being integrated into this community is there is such a wealth of resource for people here.
Well said. As a business owner, you just can't be proficient at everything. You have to leave some things to the experts. And I absolutely love it when my clients have a good CPA, because I know that I can get financials that I can rely on, and I can get them in a timely fashion. And I've worked with Brett for years on bank documents. It's so important to have an attorney on your team that understands banking regulations and real estate law. Brett's very good at that. It's always been a pleasure. You just have to surround yourself with people who really know what they're doing so that you can do your job and be good at what you do. So I think it's extremely important.
So this next question is for Lynn and Brett. Lynn and Brett, what do you see are the biggest challenges that you in your business and your clients are facing, and how do you see that changing over the next few years?
As a financial auditor, we do risk assessments for all of our businesses. And when you posed that question to me, I went back over the last year to see what was the business owner's response for the most part, and the management team. What feedback did I get? What I found was revenues have only steadily increased about 3 to 4% in the last year. In order to get the jobs or in order to get the business in, they're cutting their margins by a great deal. So their net income is shrinking. And so that became the first and foremost thing that I found problematic, that bothered them at nighttime. The next had to do with employment and their employees, the benefit costs that they have. That keeps increasing more than 4%. So they're trying to retain talent and attract talent while they're increasing those costs. So those three things were very obvious in our discussion. The next one was technology and how to protect their data, how much information should be let out, cybersecurity and just the flow of information and contact management that is now prevalent, or even the way you pay bills, the way you do banking, the treasury management has been a big concern. Obviously, there's been some fraud cases and things that have been compromised. The last and foremost is has to do with compliance, the HR compliance. As you know, the tax laws have changed, so the compliance with that. There have been 15 new FASB laws this past year. So a business owner has a lot of decisions to make with the current climate, and they have to tackle all of that, which is why it's important to have a good team so they can make those decisions and make the right decisions to move forward.
And I think I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what you said. What we're seeing from the legal perspective is the world just moves faster. And when the world moves faster, there's more risk associated with the decisions you make. You have to make conflict. Everything that you see happen in the world just seems to move faster. On the employee side, you have a younger generation that is used to things being virtual, being there instantly, lack of patience. And so what we see, the trends we've seen in the last year in the legal field are the legal ramifications of those things happening. You talked about cybersecurity. We see a lot of conflict associated with theft of trade secrets, theft of information being made available that people are using against you. And then from an employee perspective, there is a lot more expectation with the younger generation as to what employers do for them and make available for them. And sometimes the expectations of the generations within business cause conflict. And we see those things becoming a problem. And then I agree with you that the last thing you talk about, FASB changes, and the political climate and the world as we see it is very polarized, and also the swings in that cause uncertainty. And you financial people see it in the markets. We see it in the ability to plan and the ability to try to figure out where your business is going and trying to figure out how we're going to help them navigate an uncertain world. And that's what we spend a lot of our time doing, or have in the last year or two.
For our next question, we'll target this to Judy and Bob. So Judy and Bob, when you think about what you do for your clients, what are the top 1 to 3 things that have had a significant impact on your clients that your clients didn't expect?
Interesting question. I think our clients are always surprised when we ask so many questions. We want to know them. We want to know about their business. We want to know what their goals are and where they're headed so that we can help them get there. I also think that they're surprised when we promote their business. The bank likes to do business with people who do business with us, and so we often will promote our clients and send them referrals and act as a resource for them when they need help with their business. And I think that the biggest thing that comes to mind when you say surprise is a few years ago when rates were going down, I called my clients and I asked them if they wanted to refinance at a lower rate and save money. And many of them were very shocked that a banker would actually call and offer to lower their rate. I remember one client who was a CEO of one of the local hospitals was absolutely shocked, and he told that story for years, that his banker called him and offered to lower his rate. So we try to help our clients in any way we can. We try to be a good resource for our clients, and we we do everything that we can to help them grow a successful business.
So that's good, Judy. I think, a couple of the things I find is, because I work with a lot of smaller businesses, is they struggle with understanding what growth in their business really requires. They start a business, they get it to a certain point, and then they begin to understand why they make profit or maybe don't have enough cash in the bank. And I think as they begin to scale, they don't understand how important cash flow management is, and understanding the difference between paying bills in 60 days and paying for materials in 30 days and the impact that has on their business. That's one of the biggest things I've learned from some of the small businesses I've worked with in the past couple of months. And I think the other piece to that is is one of the surprises is with organizations that realize the person who started the business has probably reached a point where they're not the best person to begin to scale the business, because while they're great visionary and they have great ideas, at some point the segregation of being a visionary and coming up with a bunch of ideas and the ability to execute and implement these ideas effectively are not always their skill set. So it's a little challenging to get them to the point of understanding that they need to find someone who can help them do that if they really want to grow efficiently and effectively. So I think those are the two biggest things I've learned.
So our next question, I'm going to address this to Brett and Lynn. As an advisor, obviously we get questions all the time and problems that arise. One of the things that we find is they might have a team or they're put together a team. In your experience, I know for us it's happened where had they come to us before the trouble happened, we would have been able to help them much easier and quicker. Can you give us some examples as to when a client probably should have came to you beforehand and you could have helped them out a lot more out of the problem?
Thank you. It's a good question. It kind of ties back to what we were talking about, how the world moves so fast in today's world. We see this in the legal side of the world, probably more than any place. One of the things we see a lot happening now, and I'm sure you do as well, is there's a lot of legal Zoom. Do your own will, do your own contracts, find the contract online, go ahead and draft that up myself, and then cross my fingers and hope that it doesn't fall apart. And that works sometimes, and many times it doesn't. So probably the biggest example we see is that. We see clients come to us where they say, well, I would have called you, but I thought I could handle this myself, and look where I am now. And there's a contract dispute, or someone's challenging their corporation and saying it's an alter ego and I'm going to sue you individually, and they're saying, I really need the paperwork now to show that this really is a corporation. And we're saying, if you'd have come to us a year or two ago, we could do that. But now you're in a situation where it's going to be more difficult for us to help you. Probably one of the best examples. The other example we see a lot on an ongoing basis is partnership disputes, shareholder disputes, where when everything is going very well in a partnership, nobody thinks about the eventuality of things going wrong, or just we always tell people, just the evolution of life and the evolution of a business and the evolution of a partnership, even if it is going swimmingly for a long time, you have to think about the eventuality of there being conflict or there being differences in direction. And Bob, I know you see this all the time in your consulting, I'm sure, and what you had talked about earlier about, you maybe need to bring somebody in because you're a visionary, but you're maybe not an implementer. We often have people show up at our doorsteps, two partners who can't even speak to each other anymore, that have not done the planning they should have done in the very beginning to plan for that eventuality. So that's those two are probably the most we see.
There's an expression that partnership is no ship. And so, unfortunately, you do see a lot of conflict in the partnerships, and how that document is written is very important for terminating that partnership as well. My example is a little bit different. I've been working with a family now I'm on the fourth generation. It started with two owners. They were twin brothers that grew the business very successfully. Oddly enough, they had two sons, and they then transferred the business to those two sons, and they built it even further. Now we're on another generation, and not all of the owners currently have siblings to pass it on to, so this is going to be a transfer where they're buying it out. And so they thought the same as their parents. They got the same attorney involved, and they set up the same S Corp as it's been in the past. And they were starting to negotiate the terms, and they called me up with our long-term relationship and said, is there anything we should consider here? And so I said, well, have you looked at the leasehold agreements? There's 24 locations to see how they're going to transfer. Have you looked and asked the bank how much they're willing to transfer or for the buyout? Have you had a business valuation done to see what they say the value of this business should be? Have you looked at the profitability of all 24 locations to see what should be excluded, what should be included? Have you looked at the assets to see if they should now be put into a different company and run differently? Last but not least, with the laws that have changed, have you considered a C Corp? With 21% being the flat tax, and they are in a 37% bracket, does it make sense? And I know a lot of people will say C Corp's double taxation. Does it make sense, though, to have a C Corp pay down the debt if the owners really can afford to not take a salary, leave the money in the company to pay down that debt that they're going to be financing? What does that look like? So I hired a controller that could crunch some numbers pretty readily, and the answer became it was about a $2 million difference if they could be a C Corp for 4 years and then look at converting to an S Corp thereafter, recognizing that when they're in that 37% bracket, they can deduct that 21% tax if there's any built-in gains. So all of this happened as a discussion, but when it went through and I said, we need to get everybody in one room and see what their opinion is so that moving forward, this will be a transition that's a good transition. Last but not least, these two sons may find out that they don't want this business when they find out the price tag. So you have to be prepared to be able to sell it to somebody else if this is not something the four individuals can live with. And, so again, it started with them going down a path and having to consider all kinds of alternatives. I probably complicated their life rather than causing some solution here, but nonetheless, at least they have to consider these things and make decisions now before it's too late.
Okay, and for our final question, we'll ask our distinguished panel here to share some tips on how your clients can better utilize a team such as yourself. We'll start with Judy.
Okay, fantastic. A lot of my clients like to try to do their own financials, no matter how complicated their business is. And I really recommend that they use a good CPA like Lynn or a good bookkeeper to help them do their financials and their tax returns. It's really important. Also, it's very important to have a strong attorney, no pun intended. That's critical. You can end up spending a lot more money if you get into a conflict than you would spend to pay a good attorney to do your legal work in the first place. And then the last thing I would recommend is if you're planning to retire or you're planning to sell your business, talk to your banker first and see how that's going to impact your ability to borrow. We see so many people that no longer have any cash flow, they don't have income, they haven't demonstrated taking money from their retirement yet, and they didn't realize that it was going to have a big impact on their ability to buy that next house or get that next loan.
That's all good advice. I would say a couple of the big things is the businesses I work with need to understand the value of bringing in a CPA, bringing in an attorney, the professionals to help them in the beginning, instead of trying to do some of these things themselves or shortcut. For many of the reasons we've spoken about today, as you begin to grow your business and you think about the type of company that you set up originally, you think about the type of accounting system you set up originally, and you realize that now I've reached a point to where I have to change a lot of what my foundation is. It can be challenging because it can become distracting as you're trying to grow your business. And I think the other piece to that is I think as you grow, as Brett talked about, things move so fast, you have to make decisions, like Brett said, much quicker. And a lot of times, those people that are very analytical don't have the amount of time that they would prefer to have to really think things through and overanalyze. So I think it's good at that point that they bring someone that can help sort through that analysis with them and bring a viewpoint to get them to a decision point in a timely manner that is most effective for their business, or else they get stuck. And a lot of times when they get stuck, their business begins to pass them by, and then it's very challenging again for them.
I'm dealing with clients that have loan balances, and so they need a review or an audit. And so typically they've got $1 million on the line or more, 5 million, 15 million, 60 million. So that's what drives the financial statement and the need for it. I don't have anybody that comes and says, I'd love an audit. Can you do that for me? It just doesn't happen. So my my presence there, I start to really look at the business and who their team is, what leadership is there, what are the risks that are in that business. And from there, I can then advise them. And yes, we do have clients that are doing their own financial statements, or they have a team in there that needs a lot of help. There's a lot of journal entries and cleanup. And so as their advisor, I'm trying to make that streamlined. And the first year is always a mess. The next year's better, and the third year will be even better. But also having people come in to help them. I'm a big referral source of all different kinds, whether it's sales tax people or even a tax attorney or many different attorneys or a financial planner to come in, because for the most part, that asset, that business asset, is usually their largest asset that they own or the group of people own. And so how they treat it and move forward is very important to them. And it's my job to show them that planning can help them with that process.
I'm impressed with all the answers, and it's interesting to put all that together. What we always try to look at is, from a legal perspective, showing value for what we do. So Judy talked about it earlier. You got to get to know your client. Really, what we try to do is sit down with the client at the beginning and have a discussion about them and understand what it is that drives them, what they're good at. And once you realize what they're good at, you start to realize what they're not good at. And Bob alluded to that. You may be a visionary, but you're not good at implementing. You may be a very analytical person, but you're not nimble. And so that's the big tip I would give, is you sit down and have that discussion as an advisor, whether you're a financial advisor, a banker, a consultant, an accountant, and you learn about that client and figure out what it is they do well. And then you build a team around them to supplement that. Everyone I've ever seen in our business and doing this for decades that is very successful knows what they do well and surrounds themselves with a team of people, either internally or externally or both in most cases, that are going to supplement what it is they do well. So that's the number one tip I would give is to sit down and figure out how what they do well and how you're going to add value. And then as a professional, the second thing I would say is that we all have to provide a value proposition as professionals, whether we're giving someone a loan, providing banking services, whether we're a consultant, whether we're an accountant. Too much in the world of services, we just send a bill. And we bill them by the hour, or we bill them with an origination fee, or we bill them with a consulting fee, or from an accountant's perspective, I'm going to do your audit for $25,000. And the client needs to see the value in that. So we really have to be able to educate our clients and show the value that we provide in that service. And so those are the things that I know we focus on to try to be professionals that show value to our clients.
Well, on behalf of myself, Bill Friebel, and my business partner, Jose Palafox and Starfox Financial Services, I want to thank our distinguished panel today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us and share, this nuggets of wisdom with our viewers today. I especially want to thank Dragos Tapu with the Glade Cultural Center for allowing us to use this beautiful facility. If you haven't checked out the Glade, we welcome you to come visit sometime. But please consider the thoughts and the words of wisdom that we shared here today on how you can best utilize your team of trusted advisors. And I wish you all continued business success.